I feel for Vikings fans. I really, really do.
Yeah.
Because a quarterback who I generally like, I think a lot of fans of the NFL generally like, and I think players have a soft spot for, is Teddy Bridgewater. And what happened to Teddy Bridgewater in practice on Tuesday is something you never want wished upon even your worst enemies. During a routine drill, some sidestep went awry. It was a non-contact injury, and Teddy Bridgewater tore his ACL and will be out for the NFL season in 2016-2017. The Vikings are without a quarterback. Sean Hill is their backup, looking to maybe sign Mark Sanchez. We are shooting this on Wednesday, okay? Goes up on Thursday. By that point, they may have signed a new quarterback or not. I'm just, covering my grounds here before I get, people say, oh, someone already signed. Colin Kaepernick's another guy that's actually been circling the waters in terms of maybe being the quarterback for the Vikings. I feel for Teddy Bridgewater, but and this is a non-contact injury. So when somebody said, Teddy Bridgewater down, knee, quote, flailing, end quote, around, just the imagery alone makes me cringe. I hope he makes a comeback next year. I think he's an easy guy to root for. I really do. What does it mean for the Vikings, Francis, and what does it mean for the NFL preseason? It's another injury amongst a list of injuries that are always going to demolish teams' hopes before the season even begins. This was a non-contact injury, so it's a freak accident, and it happens, right? I have 4 cards for you guys in terms of 4 teams that have been ravished by them. Some of the bigger names, Tony Romo out at least 10 weeks with his back. Dak Prescott's going to be starting in favor of that. Those of you who watched our Should Dak Prescott Start Over Tony Romo clip have to understand that we shot that a full day before the information that Tony Romo was going to be out for 10 weeks happened.
We had no idea. We actually talked blatantly about how the Cowboys are a different team. They go from being a 10-6 team to a 6-10 team if Tony Romo goes injured. And it wasn't maybe 3 or 4 hours after we put the clip up, we realized that was going to come to fruition. So we obviously predict the future. We have the magic balls.
We do. So I just wanted to at least get that one out there. So it's not just Teddy Bridgewater who's unfortunately going to be out for the season. There's a lot of injuries across the league that have already occurred that are going to send the hopes and optimism of fans across the league into bitter and ugly turmoil. It's happened to my teams before. It's happened to everybody's teams. The Chiefs, for example, led by Justin Houston, who is one of the most phenomenal linebackers in the league and a major reason as to why the Chiefs play such defensively sound football. He is your lead communicator of that defense. He will be out. And he is one of the guys that unfortunately is on that PUP list and cannot perform alongside many others. The Colts, Vontae Davis, and the fact that Frank Gore is going to retire after week 3 because he's 63 years old means that the Colts, unfortunately, again, and I feel for the Colts too because they've had offensive line injury problems in the past. They've had defensive line injury problems in the past. And it's now becoming a reoccurring theme. Just give Andrew Luck a chance, please. The Cowboys, as you know, led by Tony Romo, and as much as I love Sean Lee, and I think he's one of the most talented linebackers in the league, he can't stay on the field. He is already listed as technically questionable for week 1. He may have gotten upgraded today when we shoot this on Wednesday. However, with Sean Lee, he's a bit fragile, and that's unfortunate because the Cowboys need all the defensive help they can get. The Ravens, Ben Watson, Kenneth Dixon, the list goes on as well. Every year, there's a few injuries that pop up, and it really just, it brings me back to the point that I think is important. If you are a starter in the NFL, never play a snap in the preseason. Teddy Bridgewater is a different case. It happened in practice. So that doesn't really make sense for that one. But if you're Tony Romo, don't play the preseason. Yeah. At least get 3 snaps in week 1 before your back gets broken for the entire season.
The only thing with Romo is he missed a lot last season as well. And I always go by the theory that you cannot find anything to replace match practice. Like that speed, that intensity, the instinct that you want to go and perform. Tony Romo's a veteran in the league. Obviously, he knows how to perform, but it's just wiping away the cobwebs. But
that's why we created virtual reality, Francis. Literally why. But even if somehow Tony Romo would get injured in virtual reality.
Big computer images would knock Tony Romo on his ass somehow. With Bridgewater, you feel for him doubly as much because, yeah, if it's an impact injury, you're like, shit, like it happens in football. But if it's just going through a routine injury, the only thing that I will say in this situation is that Dallas Cowboys rely just as much on someone like Tony Romo to get the most out of a Dez Bryant as well. Like, if you're going to imagine that replacement is going to allow for a Dez Bryant to go forward and thrive in that offensive lineup to be as efficient as we were already predicting them, a 10-6 potential team. No, I don't fancy it. If I was a Cowboys fan, I'd be a little bit more worried than I would be if I was a Vikings fan. The Vikings, according to numerous blogs that I read beforehand, were a potential to go to the Super Bowl. Super Bowl and go win it. And they have that a potential to go to the Super Bowl.
Because they were always going to, and they won the division last year, and they have the Packers in their division. However, the Vikings, with healthy Teddy Bridgewater, if Adrian Peterson plays to his potential and his health, and their defense, which was pretty good last year too. I know, fantastic in-depth analysis there on the Vikings defense. Regardless, a Blair Walsh shank kicked away from making it to the second round of the NFL playoffs. So.
And they have that guy. What's his name again?
Adrian Peterson.
They have that guy. So that guy can help and mend some of the open wounds that are there. I mean, if you're a Vikings fan, you are still frustrated. You want to have all your moving pieces together. They had that Adrian Peterless season 2 years ago where they were considered due to unfortunate circumstances.
Would you say they need an Adrian Petermore season this
Yes,
year?
I think they had 2 seasons ago, and then last year Adrian Peterson did well for my fantasy team. Thanks a lot for that, AP. This year, I don't have him, but I'm sure that a lot of people had the immediate reaction, and I asked you this off camera, like, does this mean for a fantasy team that he's going to get more touches and the only people that will be happy are Minnesota Vikings fans for their fantasy team? But then you have to realize that if they're not winning as much, you're not getting that winning bonus. If the quarterback's not there to help at least guide the team, if the defense doesn't match up, it's overwhelmingly a negative.
What you're alluding to is defenses are going to, quote, my own executive producer, dare the quarterback to throw the ball.
Yeah.
So if you can't get the play action going, if you can't get usually the run game opens the passing game, but in today's NFL, a lot of quarterbacks will throw on first down. And if your passing game is wide open and you're hitting Stephon Diggs downfield or Cordell Patterson across the middle, right, that would even so open up Adrian Peterson to run right through that line. Again, he's still AP. He's still capable of putting up monstrous numbers. Do you want your running back who's 31 years old to be touching the ball that much during the game, put the whole team on his back? It's an older back. Can he survive? I hope so. I mean, I guess, you know what? Go Vikings. Go Vikings.
I like the Vikings.
Could be Mark Sanchez, though. Butt fumble in the cold.
They're my soft spot, as I told you 2 years ago, I believe, on our first kind of NFL clip together. It must be 2 years ago, because someone remembered that they hit me up on Twitter with a Michael Jordan crying face meme saying, oh, you're Vikings. I'm like, yeah, I like them, but I'm not Michael Jordan crying point yet.
Get better, Teddy Bridgewater. We hope you have a speedy recovery and you're back on the field in 2017 and not injured again, leading the Vikings and the charge. Comment below, like, favorite, subscribe to the whole video. There was 3 clips in this. You can click on any of them through the annotations. All information in the description box below. As for Pluto, we'll see you next Friday.